Yeah, we watch my kwa baby emfa emra bedwem so on Adom TV. Yeah, say a free 5:30 by start bedwem no. Wake ho saa any you go through. This is our last bet of the show. It will wrap up at 9:25. Yankopon ka ho onye okesa no baby akobia na na hira no en Adom enso oso ebe. Bede de akwasi Asia join you live on Facebook Adom TV Extra. Adom TV Extra and Adom TV. Also live on YouTube here, Adom TV. Follow me and so a Big 6 on Facebook. To search for Big 6. We want some picture. Nice one pa Eda Honum. Na weba samuwo the scan for Adom TV. Yeah, full na. Eka odi mamna ka sadebe ya ahwefo ehwe no. Ebetimi ascan no ma join it. Adom TV on WhatsApp channel also. It is also scan a WhatsApp channel scan code 11 patcha mo for me. Na ahwe phone to me and scan it. For phone na odi scan it let me join it Adom TV WhatsApp channel no. It news be of course baby bia. Ye dey to so also sabe kebi. Say unhia so be chinchire saa copy stories are running for the day. So join it Adom TV WhatsApp channel no. Adom TV WhatsApp channel no. Or call WhatsApp channel search for Adom TV. Yeah, when you're joining WhatsApp channel, it be the amount automatic. It's so that is scan. It's part of our phone never check a QR code no so. So what the check QR code this one. Ubi phone no call there be a picture picture no. Now they actually see na capture QR code they be the amount. Now so it's me again. Yes, that's so WhatsApp channel that search for Adom TV. Na join it. Sana bia news bia opebia no onsa ebetimi aka hodom aka so ochina na dame dwade no hye ase and as a result Mpensenpensenmu nua Kwame Oboade who happens to be the host of dame for nyame adom a ochina yeba so obukom arena. I'm sure naka so sado pay ye ne contestants be ede komo to look at my Oboabo afi ye hwe the main host naka so Oboabo as a Kwame. Good morning.
Good morning, Minia.
Yeah.
Na
and now no peno be some say moody for as breakfast and as I'm so too early and as I tell Kwame.
There be some to me the pizza no party I eat me the food of I.
See, who went to me the pizza no pan dia.
Yeah, yes, let me the food of I. Yeah, you pizza the food.
Okay, so quick watching and what to say.
When you jet for a jet, but I got any other deal. What's not? Who's another count the number of days now?
Sure.
So I had day 1, day 2, day 3. Sa and then the what's not a now you see more Bukom Arena.
Okay.
Yeah, dame. Now, near a near Michelle, I yet more ABC Akana, Waboa. Not just a young so I host to know that Waboa I want 8 years. To say, where the NTM as you didn't think you didn't come up and say, Michelle, baby, I mentioned me to the Baya Wachano, Bibia, Baya, kama, Ama, and Yama Akoye. The America a tear for you and her phone said to be a mochi, now Omra, a year Bukom Boxing Arena home. So I said, Dominion, yeah, Missika, free. Okay. And now, a lot of freebies were also conservatively and known the journey I mean, the cost of Abraham and Apostle. There's a lot of much and said, yeah, for greater Accra. Who's that? You for an idea, I'm for saying you're really in a year.
Oh, greater Accra, yeah.
I'm for from Sakami. Now, actually, near to see a man of the Munya tre. You really talk. We have first thought. You boon come carrying Adiama. A year, a month for you now. Now, I'm not a year researcher who said, and 1901. And the third time I told from I say about the Tranamia, and they saw anyone to your board. And what is here, and all one that church and took you any 2 weapons for the three archaeologists, which in China could mean I tell you. Now, my Ghana frontier said, first in the history of Ghana, yet dummy competition. First in the history of Ghana, we are dummy competition.
Yeah.
You can capture a life. I will change you. It be mad. It be AC that. First in the history of Ghana, yeah, dummy competition. It be I can capture a life. I will change you. It be cry AC that. It will be a more than sort of now about the shabby.
Okay. It's Yanka. I hope we see watching now.
Supporter.
I'm saying young cash for being so much. So I say live on so Adom TV. Ochina dami competition a live on Adom TV from 8 a.m. to timer. You better wrap it up. Kwame na wanu kubi so na asa de to aso.
Ye be na me kan kire mo say de tie de uba be duru ho a o ba ba be free ba bia no ansa so ko bukom boxing arena. Onya duru ho pa o be say de Adom FM flat next city o say de bia ye no. Say e kan say action e ko so kranti o be che ba bia action wo na onso wo ba bi. Ya wo mo e be bo mo na competitors no and ya wo mo e be hwe and ya wo agudifo jama groups e wo kromo adina ya to sa afro enti ya to nana mo ra no e bi akire na aho aye de
okay
say kromo aye hye enti unya konya bi say ya me ne ja ho
kwaju wani
bi kwaju wani pa action da answer face ha
okay Kwame Oboade the senior ambassador of Fufu Eaters Association of Ghana.
Yes, and then the king of Dami.
The king of Dami.
Mamonti say a goodies music production. So
okay.
Nipa na ebe to amaro na me chepo no. Itifu goodies say obetima ye nsenkyere. Itifu obeto hu say the way goodies edi agro fa.
Okay.
Oba be hu say the goodies edi agro fa.
Sure.
And the likes of Abuna Sna okuna but so bia odi Dami to okromo bia no e ka ho a oba. To wa ma bia wa ye hu.
Bate Kwame Bedasi adopai.
Me so me da ase bebre mi.
Bye. Ochina e be hia. Ti Kwame Oboade and a host of Dami. Ochina de pai nyina hia e wo Bukom Arena. Na obia be kire de bobre. Bra be hwebi. America ka so oba na oye UC mass. Oye UC mass no so ne safa ne bra. No mesua de efa efreti Kwame Bedasi. Piano pese wetimi ajena bajafo betena se ami atwe ekwameka se Kingdom Herbal Center na kofa enupade abadwa so se dro ba ko so bia je atuma wonum bie Kingdom Garlic Bitters na fe Kingdom Garlic Capsules du papa ebeboa se de be ye dua no se wapom de ewie paya unya Kingdom Garlic Bitters na fe Kingdom Garlic Capsules betimi aboa mo pom de nsam etimi awieye awodo dwum ba bia nye waposo wona nyina ye your cholesterol ekosoro unya Kingdom Garlic Bitters and a Kingdom Garlic Capsules or the new Kingdom Ginseng Power Capsules memang kwa dia we memang kwa so we are makers and member yang kwa new Kingdom Ginseng Power Capsules Mr. Wanda fanya agudi mu ase so enwemu tutu kwan kwa abrochi ko hye Jamaica fo ne agu won mu ase poto tuchia what is Ghana he ne da from yes Mr. Wanda ko gu won mu ase unya new Kingdom Ginseng Power Capsules bema wadru no menka wasa mo nche making on the ATM cancer o ma ba bi eton do bia no kwa osa ebeka bi atom atufo enfre 0275 804064 0275 804064 and at 0302 938 153 0302 938 153 Kingdom I said no challenger I pay and no makaya His Excellency John Dramani Mama Nyakonya Ekasaye ewo United Nations General Assembly meeting ya ekoso ewo New York America abuchimemu and this is the 80th edition His Excellency Nyakonya Ekoy so he has a time to appear about 4 times within his in the last term as President of the Republic. On the same and before that, I don't know what about the Yenshman because the other one I want to address it later after His Excellency John Dramani Mama. So let's listen to some part of His Excellency and rather our UN General Assembly meeting.
Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. At this 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, I'd like to speak about Africa's role in the future of this organization. However, it's impossible to do that without first considering the collective role that Africa played in its founding, which was small and relatively insignificant. Of the 51 member states involved in the founding of the United Nations in 1945, only 4 were African: Egypt, Ethiopia, Liberia, and South Africa. It is important to point out that the United Nations came into being in the aftermath of World War II because of the inability of its predecessor, the League of Nations, to avert a large-scale global conflict, which had been its guiding purpose when it was founded in 1920 at the end of the First World War. Out of the 42 founding member states of the League of Nations, only 3 were African: Liberia, the Union of South Africa, and Ethiopia. Egypt was to join later in 1937. Africa's overall participation in the organization's founding was minimal and relatively unimportant. That's because before all the other talks and meetings, representatives from a group of 14 nations gathered in Berlin for a series of discussions that began in 1884 and which led to the partitioning and formal colonization of the African continent, which is also called the Scramble for Africa. It has famously been written that past is prologue. Well, in the past, the majority of the 54 nations that now comprise Africa were never offered a seat at the table where plans for a new world order were being drawn. But, Madam President, as fate would have it, the tables are turning, and Africa's role in the authorship of whatever is yet to come for this world is going to be huge, and it will be consequential. According to this organization's own projections, by the year 2050, more than 25% of the world's population is expected to come from the African continent. Additionally, by 2050, 1/3 of all young people aged between 15 to 24 will be residing on the African continent. So you see, the future of this world is African. Allow me to say this once again a little louder for those of you in the back. The future is African. Already today, Africa is a catalyst for human potential and development, as well as for economic reform and ecological stability. Africa is a catalyst for systemic change. If this reality, which is fact-based and straightforward, seems provocative or unsettling, perhaps it's because you are viewing it through the lens of centuries of filters, colonialism and imperialism, and the resulting implicit bias. Maybe you are unaware of the resilience of African nations or their remarkable ability to make a strong comeback just when you think it's safe to count them out. That is what is happening right now in my own country, Ghana. Our constitution limits leaders to 2 4-year terms. In January, I was sworn in for a second term, which, let me point out, was non-consecutive with my first term. Our currency, the Ghana cedi, was rapidly depreciating, faced with rising inflation, a huge debt burden, and low morale amongst our citizens. My new administration settled down quickly and embarked on an ambitious program of comprehensive transformation designed to restructure Ghana's economic foundation and enhance our competitive standing globally. We refer to this process of recalibration as our reset agenda. In just 8 months, we have achieved significant reduction in inflation from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in August 2025, restoring price stability for our citizens. Additionally, our currency, the Ghana cedi, has appreciated considerably against other currencies, with Bloomberg reporting it as the best performing currency in the world at one point. Our improved sovereign credit rating reflects increasing investor confidence in our economy. And our 24-hour economy initiative promises to transform our economy. And there's a renewed willingness amongst our people to trust that their elected officials have Ghana's interests at heart and that we're progressing together. Madam President, I believe that in honor of this milestone celebration, the United Nations should also embark on a process of serious recalibration and establish its own reset agenda. Since the organization's founding, the number of UN member nations has nearly quadrupled. And quite frankly, it is not the same world that it was back then when the UN was formed. I mentioned earlier that I began my second non-consecutive term as president this past January. My first term ended in January 2017. In that span of time, 8 years, the world has changed with such ferocity. My first days in office after my return felt as though I had just awakened from a Rip Van Winkle-style sleep. Now, no, that was only after 8 years. Imagine then what it will be like after 80 years since the founding of the United Nations. In 1945, the sun had not yet set on the largest empire in history. The most common mode of international travel was by sea. The personal computer had not been invented, let alone made portable. And television, a new convenience, was still in its infancy, albeit in black and white color. Relations between the US and the Soviet Union were turning frosty, with Winston Churchill declaring that an iron curtain has descended across the European continent. Fast track 80 years on. In today's world, hundreds of thousands of commercial flights take off and land every day. Libraries have been digitized so that volumes of literature can exist on a small device, small enough to fit inside your pocket. We live in a world of cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, social media, the internet and its dark hidden dungeon of the dark web, all of which carry a potential threat to global peace and security. Climate change is real, and we're fighting a losing battle against the loss of Maldives and other island nations to the rising sea level, against the loss of Timbuktu to desertification and the Amazon forest to global warming and deforestation. Madam President, the UN Founding Charter is outdated when it comes to representation in this August Assembly. The most powerful post-World War II nations are still being rewarded with an almost totalitarian guardianship over the rest of the world. And yet, the first sentence in Chapter 2, Article 1 of the UN Charter declares that the organization, if this were true, and was the case, a continent as large as Africa, with its numerous UN member states, would have at least one permanent seat on the Security Council. Furthermore, we believe that veto power should not be restricted to only 5 nations, nor should it be absolute. There must be a mechanism in this House for the General Assembly to challenge a veto. No single nation should be able to exercise an absolute veto to serve its own interests in a dispute. In 1995, during the 50th anniversary of the United Nations, Nelson Mandela stood in this very spot. And he said, the United Nations has to reassess its role, redefine its profile, and reshape its structures. It should truly reflect the diversity of our universe and ensure equity among the nations in the exercise of power within the system of international relations in general, and the Security Council in particular. I close quotations. 30 years later, we African leaders are still making the same simple request for a permanent seat on the Security Council with the power of a veto. So today, Madam President, I stand here in this exact spot and ask the world, if not now, then when? We demand not only a reform of the Security Council, but also a reset of the global financial architecture, which is currently rigged against Africa. Africa must have a greater say in the world's multilateral financial institutions. And while I'm making requests, I'd like to call for the removal of the blockade on Cuba. As Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our nation's founder, famously said, we seek to be friends with all and enemies to none. The Cuban people shed their blood on African soil in the fight against apartheid. And indeed, Cuba has been and continues to be a faithful friend of Africa. You see, the very fact that I can stand here and ask these things and say these things, and the fact that all nations can ostensibly gather here to address critical global issues, air our grievances, and express our concerns, that is what makes the survival of this organization so important. In every old city or village, you will find a town square, or a courtyard, or a plaza that once served as a gathering space for the citizens of the community and their leaders. Meetings and celebrations were held there, as were trials and elections. And these were spaces that brought people together and held them together as a community. Sadly, time and technology have eroded these spaces. Madam President, in many ways, the United Nations is the proverbial town square of our modern global village. And it has never been more critical for us to protect this one space that brings and holds the world nations together as a community. The internet, social media platforms, and artificial intelligence offer us the illusion of connectivity, when in fact what they do is reinforce isolation by using algorithms that ensure that we do not receive new ideas and perspectives, but rather more of the same content. We are served alternative facts and manipulated images, making it easy to disseminate disinformation and sow seeds of division amongst communities. Madam President, these are dangerous times. Our world is currently experiencing a rise in nationalism and economic instability. There's a general breakdown of multilateralism. Various acts of aggression have been committed against the sovereignty of others, and nations are attempting to circumvent the very safeguards that were put in place to prevent large-scale global conflict. These conditions are all too similar to the ones that led to the League of Nations' failure in fulfilling its mandate. The denial of visas to President Abbas and the Palestinian delegation sets a bad precedent and should be deeply worrying to all member nations of the United Nations. Ghana recognized the state of Palestine in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop. The crimes in Gaza must stop. Madam President, I also want to draw particular attention to the conflict in Sudan, which this body has described as the world's largest humanitarian crisis. 12 million.
Eti, this is all the Nema, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama UN Kwenya address the United Nations or the Etuja. Ewubakubi say is calling for the reform of our Security Council. He's calling say in the next few years to come, Africa will be the world and attention will be in Africa. So who say the world superpowers. Ebedwin saade no eho na he feels abi man so etimi emie nso emudie mu a our power ene etumi ye kita no ebetimi epia e de akwa ni waka we ase asumdwe enso ho asem sebno ka say lawyer Enoch Afuakwa a member of the NPP National Communications Team Watenase sanso de hwere mu say Bernard Nimpiesi member of the NDC National Communications Team so Ebeka ya say Franco Trading Enterprise the phone papa na aba edwaso he say the Ghana had the open baby better phone a ne bo form na becha dia ma papa Franco enchen say Nokia Samsung iPhone na opa papa Franco nko a na akobenya papa beche na ne bo so form de amawo or smart TVs here ranging from 32 to 55 inches or tabletop fridges Franco air conditioning so on from 1.5 to 2.5 horsepower. It's na opedien. CCTV camera na somadi ameka to say wo ha kra ni benyiri kra na ebetwa ba esie. Awo bia hu nipa na ogine mu. And then CCTV camera say bobo kro move do na e free Papa Franco and akra e de ama omai. So wo to ade e wo mo app ne so a unya 40% discount from 0246 422 338. 0246 422 338. And our 0555 939 311. 0555 939 311. Franco Trading Enterprise as a step phone. Papa Pafie Edwardum. Council Bokode.
Gather Roma, Akwesi. Now, where?
Hey, Boko. This is what the case pack. The case is power.
Yeah, for God and country.
Okay.
For God and country. We share the. I said, "Tenamuni near my call my name." Na sana beba. Sana beba. Na unya nsupa no me de. Enye bi adware.
The pipe by.
O pipe by. Kama.
Oh yeah.
The nyame ase.
Ade.
The nyame ase enra da me Wednesday da be enrechi.
Okay.
Enrechi anopa ebra me call mo sister station baako anopa na nsuo ne to. Na me twem wo Jubilee House anim ho. Once mo sprinkler irrigation system bi wo anim ho no mo water lawns no green grass na e wo fence wo anim ho no. Of the Liberation Road no.
Yeah.
Na nsuo ne to nyina na sprinkler no so no adwuma na hwe nsuo efiri mu ba na clean potable drinking water pa na mo de water lawns no. Wa asa na nsuo kran so san to. Na Jubilee House anim ho na. Oba Africa ko.
Near water.
Yeah, water lawn green grass no. Nsuo no so ta no pa no se enrechi ano pa nsuo to e pa won kran.
Okay.
Na nsuo ne to nyina na sprinkler irrigation so pumping nsuo go green grass.
Maybe obi start pumping asa
na nsuo ne. Na nsuo ne start to ahomache. But also omo access to potable drinking water.
Jubilee House.
Nsu power because nsuo ne nia o mi try bi kra wo me can say me try bi wo me video e ha me be send na wo producer yi. Nsuo to nyina na sprinkler na ye adwuma a kwanya ko central region almost about 10 districts. Omo nya nsupa no because of say pollution of the main channels no kwanya ko water works no. Nsuo galamsey ne ne ma say nsuo no puto. Ema almost 10 districts. Ema ye hu publications bi kra say cholera outbreak ne waterborne disease yiditi e wo central region. Erunti say ade ba kwa ma metwe ma adwen si so ne say etwe ma adwen si definition of Karl Marx. No can rule of law. Say rule of law is there to satisfy the powerful in society. Karl Marx the definition of rule of law no or say rule of law no say be satisfy and say be so one a wo mu do no wo to me mu. No krepa sabi mo frank to ya wo mo nga omo nya super no mo central region. Nkwalanke to a mo ne Ghana dachi a omo central region omo nya super ennom nkokra mmere wo ma bo braso mo man no akuafo ene ne ma nya super ennom ya shut down the water treatment plant e wakwanya ko. Then so no over the seat of government Jubilee House a issue to kra no na e super water lawns na e kire obibi. Na sabi se omampanyimfo kra ni ho or UN General Assembly meeting na oni wiase nyina di nkita ho. Then so no ne backyard no eye ne office no na natena ye no ye siesi ho kama issue to kra na ye water lawns ne said that be obi atwem ho no be ye agree.
Ne papa no. Because that represents my Ghana.
Yes.
Into honor ye kama. Na ye fair. Na drew it gives you a fair picture of Omaina Wabemuno.
I go say I want to say.
Okay.
You can't Omaya, you can't sovereignty. Sovereignty lies in the people.
Yeah.
You can't sovereign. You ain't sovereign people.
Yeah, Timemufon.
Timemufon, they are sovereign people. Not Timemufon, what if Infimantem, and I heard Infimantem, Central Region.
Yeah.
And yes, super known because of say Galamsey. Buying a brana or position. Eka say Omampenia or Tiso and Nasedians or best to be Galamsey. Na swap for Penyufo. I ne omo ne sumo na ban mu. We can the foreign affairs minister, the minister for lands and natural resources, and a couple of minister of communications and digitalization. Yera Sam George nom, okujeto ablakwa nom, yera amakofibu anom, etsi 18 tesukoko, e catch ban so declare state of emergency. Na ene ye the two mina ma omo. And it's the same people managing the affairs of the country. Say ope minister, why number one minister, a foreign affairs minister. Yero kujeto ablakwa nsema no kafa galamsey hu yekrum ha na ene oye omansoafo on the hwe yen kama no nkita hudie so owo ho yero amakofibu a oye minister for lands and natural resources. I remember clearly say na oye vociferous o traban o ho no say on declare state of emergency ene e to me na ma no ene o hwe the Minerals and Mining Act of 2006 Act 706 as amended na the 2 million the regulatory mineral rights in no Minister for Lands and Natural Resources on the signing mineral right to mining licenses and the mining leases on the sign for and on behalf of the government of the Republic of Ghana. Then under his watch, for the first time in the history of our country, Kwenyaku Water Works are polluted there. It means that Galamsey, you know, and environmental degradation abadi. Now Mampenyi Kasa was UN stage in this one. Now I can't Gaza Huasem. I can't humanitarian crisis and Huasem. So Gaza and humanitarian crisis are pollution of water bodies. Sebio, ama cholera, waterborne diseases. Any idea? Now no kai EPA for ne A4 report here by year, or more research by year, or more arsenic concentrations, any heavy metal pollutions are, any mercury concentration, and what fish, any habai binu ya baby mo Ghana has say ya, Konongo and other areas, or more from the reporter, EPA, Environmental Protection Authority, ekasa researchers or more findings on ebaye. It didn't be told ya. So it shows clearly say a humanitarian crisis the president should have stayed in Ghana and addressed the humanitarian crisis of Ghana has among share the Middle East. Gaza straight from Kwa. Gaza the enemy course we are seeing the course war. By ya kataya the so I na silent killer. Kuya no. Ya twenu yaguso. Ya twa habanya kataso. Ene ye ka obi mfichiri. Ya o man penda da onya na be ko nyame fa ne kransie ye papa meals e ka asem bi. Say do fiasem. So man panyi Mahama no ye o man panyi meals. Na bedi akire. Na bedi akire no. Ye ka do fiasem na. Ono ene also say the do fiasem policy no. Odi kan. Because Ghana enyina yi. So share humanitarian crisis pa. People in the central region. Enyen super nom. Oko other parts of the country ebinum kwa afuom agi so omode sachet water. Sabio okuani ne board ya odi aye no. Enso ye na watwa bia akoton. Na e wo so onya sika to sachet water e de kwa afuom. Ansa na wotia akoye na dwuma wo fuye mu no. That is oman no ahosi hia mu. We are already in the state of emergency. Here so man panyi be show direction. Akwasi. I say galamsey. Police for said anything. What is the duty of the police?
Maintain law and order.
Maintain law and order. And the arrest powers of the police, you know, the powers of arrest of the police, you know. Say police will to me say obe arrest you on reasonable suspicion. Okay. Say crime is about to be committed, or crime is being committed, or crime has been committed. And yes, sir. Anyone means about being or has been committed. Being, you know, police for illegal mining atia te say galamsey and ne baby e kwan ho nyina ye to pylons. Go say Greek for the betu just say obo pylons here under threat.
Yeah.
Wanwa. Because so share the mining regulation ni ma. Even say oh ye mining cry ma license na. And mean can say obi okuta license okuta license nko just say you are doing the right thing. No. The license comes with a covenant. The covenant is that say all miners a major river or no more 100 meters away from the river. From the river.
I won't show certain level of commitment to do.
Maybe say that crap. Maybe. So we share mining regulations now. Major river like Pra and Cobra need those bigger basins, you know. And Rani say you can also mine friends say closer to the river body, you know, 100 meters away. 100 meters near almost about 300 feet away from the river. About 330 feet. Because one meter, no, 3.3 feet, no, one. Everything about 330 feet away from the river. Buffer, no. There is a reason why Emrano Ayenisa. About strips, any idea, 30 meters and a whole lot. About pylons like transmission lines. This fan can I can see move from high tension. I can see any number of pylons now. 100 meters away from the pylons. I was it. Wafa Japaquainos was a Japaquainos. Okay. Western region. Wafa Hono. Yeah. Pylons you are near di hunina naka and you see who said the Yabo by Ren Kofi. A looming threat, looming danger. And then you say in future you will know you. A quite will be a nutria. Said you obi any police vote mu soldier vote mu DC trema mu minister trema mu. I didn't know your mind, sir. What we teach you, what we mining even within the belly of the river bodies, you know. You nutria. Near be catches ya say the blue water guard. Na sabi you. You dis soldier for call any police for IGP task force for some referee na blue water guard for no or create
omo tell
blue water guard create
omo tell ni akobo police for that soldier for that money I say afo akwana nam river yensu kono No, I fast.
Akwasi Ghana
no information.
Ghana district ben any district police commander oh. District ben Ghana any divisional NIB. Tete ne from BNI officers ho. Ghana district ben any MMDCs ho. Ya nti so mampanyin. Na daroma. So obetimi obekon galamsey na. Solution is simple.
Onya dey.
Obetimi fight this cancer within 24 hours. How? Already the structures are there. Galamsey police for no more district dada. And police for our district be able to catch them so when Galamsey site our district be able.
But if the police for no a compromise your more, man penny by any day.
Negligence anyhow. And yet me the technology about you locate IP address me boy.
Yeah.
And kwala what TikTok ah. Yesusu se omo kaka se bia na omo ye ne ye bi yesusu se ensen fatano. See locate you omo chi omo.
Yeah.
He said district police commander te ho, divisional police commander te ho. Na ne mfitiri. Ye tu Galamsey wo ho. Uko Dwaboso assembly Dwaboso municipal assembly say ho nechi ye tu Galamsey wo ho. Ninchem Galamsey pit wo ho. Na police force o mu hu ye. But yet me copy technology locate IP address. Of obi o TikTok, obi o social media. Akwasi ne ye o my Ghana sir.
Merase.
You see? E was Ghana for me ani da ho. Ni hu ni ye say aban ya o ho yi no. Onye ready say obeko the illegal mining menace wo ho no. Ye obi so mo ye adwuma ne kama. I was aban
after arresting over 1,400 illegal miners.
How many achi wo mo? Nye nkwala na achi wo mo. Nkwala pumping machine for achi wo mo.
There's one man can chew.
Nkwala pumping machine for achi.
There's one man can.
Kempins no mo we. Kempins no omo we.
Omo mche Galamsey chi.
Enye yes omo che kire o. Omo adwuma ne omo dia no mo we. Na kwacha kwala bia ono savo ne pick eda na beti a sabi ono kwa na ho ode asa because nutritional value hu no kura na why pale hu na nim ene ne ya ekoma dinama sabi o na pomodi kwansi so police ba ko ntimi tumirika na waso nimu na kodnya se a chi Galamsey ni akwasi Karmax or say the rule of law is there to protect the powerful in society because kempins ni kutesika omo sem wo bi omo support political party financing omo support political actors ntino yenim omo ba me say so man panyi so be ko Galamsey ya omo command say or commander in the Ghana Armed Forces on kan kire IGP say the district police commanders no so who Galamsey every district police commander be a jurisdiction you be prosecute district police commander no omo IP address in here technology because ko be bia district police command esikwan ho esimfitire ya ma wo ka aban wo mo address wo mo phone numbers dada enu ti this is ni aban na yi wo mo enyo mo na head of dissect ne music wo the district the various districts no enyo mo ne fire commanders ne all the security friends actors commanders ne on dissect and security meetings ho so man panika so be fight here just a command why be hu bia no we will prosecute you on negligence we will prosecute you on conspiracy it will problem conspire with these perpetrators of this heinous crime Galamsey na it's the security agencies no I don't say a bunch of a fight here on starting free security agencies here say Galamsey
member of the NPP national communications
team akwaba eje busha panyin wo sane fi bepo no do he say no usa ben mo do he say me nua no no say why can say hey uncle mo akwaba he say ni change na yo so
bel go there
yanko bandaro
yere ya miasi
tutu bibia ya man
yere ya miasi
ohu ne mansion na wa so
oh mansion
nipa da se
bepo no so ho no
adibo wa
ebuta penye
besro
mami kan
David episode no te yante
sa ho
o kine bi na party fo aso ho akogu se ye ko hwe benada ni mpiesie mansion
oh am wo call lunch ho he say say parties ne ko parties
ben
ayo wa
ayo to nsa frame bi
ayo wa say MPP ni twa tru ti obi so ayo wa that's the
any piece
oh that's just talking
wo no open from
afa
afa no te be
afa medase
won ta kontombo nti obi so ma won spin enya wa
ono push ko te be pono
comments on UN General Assembly meeting
oje COVID ni tum say the crisis ba Ghana economy dey affecting
we say na nye na on kwa
there be the first no say nye no kware
oh the bad me cancer
UN
this is not the first time President Mahama
okwa chiro kwaje admit but ba Ghana o admit
ben pa chini
opposition nyina
be ni ko boy
yo akwese me dase na me ntua me nuafo akwa me hu na che
o ba be me na so me hu
na hu ze na adwuma sorry pa skadi o jebi
probo no nko a
MPP fu a one am kwati kwanso e di Ghana mansika wo mu bia no defend nti why ade o ma o yero e bia
allegations in corner what they are to handle
that ubenya mu reward akwasi ma minchi a Ghana
na no betimi ahwe
na minchi a wona wo mpemfu
because ka ten so hwe
na President Mahama kaso kan wo UN General Assembly no me tibisa ache na me jedi se ebeye se na honso ache
Gaza
the sense say wote ne kasa ne se ne a osi fast me ne feel baby odiko wie a akwasi apart from there e bia obeka no brofo de na mu da ho no obi ate no asem ni maba na se ye twen adwinsi so menim se akwasi na ahia obenya binom a se President Mahama bebu no zakoko South ya akroma ti se denkura na enya ne fe nti enya won wase bi beka mi but the substance asem no asem ne po ni nyina so okan ni ye papa okan kire se the unfair nature of the world order. Bra if you are to United Nations, no bonse sabre no no. Na aman huru bebre wa Africa na yenye independent.
Yeah.
Even Ghana kra na yenye bi. Nti bonse aman huru wa nan bi pe na wadu ho kwashem. Prempren se yakasa Africa over 56 states. Obia wo ana mebo. African nations how many?
Yeah.
African nations, you how many?
54.
54, right?
Yeah.
Mobile no nya independent. Obia almost obia.
Basically, yeah.
Enti adentina sabri as say obi no decide my yen. Na ye ni permanent membership our UN
Security Council.
Security Council no so.
Okay.
Akwesi say dey bia transe. Na say nea obi no odwen mawo, obi no hwehwe wo ne ye mawo a. Mpem bebre no wo se wan kasa oti hu a. Where you born?
And I just want to say, the sad aspect here say, we contribute a lot of troops for UN peacekeeping.
Yeah.
So that's why so Kenyan president. Why do you take this much from us, but you refuse us to be on the decision table?
What I say? Bramo Shas no, na yenya independent.
I say you may have the prison.
Into bonse France to me jinemo francophone countries.
Yeah.
What I say?
Yeah.
E bia bebe say Britain. Etimi jina ma Anglophone countries.
Yeah.
What I say? Prempren ye nyina ade ye ho. Ye de ho afi. Sa colonial masters na ase.
This was before Yenya
ampampa.
Independence.
Exactly so.
Yeah.
But prempren ye were independent.
Sure.
Enemy ya de ho ampampa.
Into obi ya te no ho.
Okay.
All right. Into as say yenya that recognition. Beyond that, as yenya permanent membership. Na me kan what I say. Ye ko tena table ho ye so etimi ye nkasa etimi adugam. Ebio no Africa with a young population over 1.5 billion. Yenye sebi population kuma and how you do nara and a young mebun. President Mahama Kasem no on say do na bon say it be center on their nations and I won't grow with him.
Yeah.
But you know otrako e kasama Africa nyina. Ne Kasem no okasa actually United Nations say prempren you want me anye ame ya nya permanent membership brebe bio akwese na me ka what I say
Yeah.
wo hwe tena United Nations naka won botai pa ne say obe ohama amang nyina na ye nyina ye adwen kire ni ayesusu say ye mfa man mfa so na yesusu say betime gina so akekire Africa man no
Yeah.
anke betimi aboa but ye nka san hye dem no gwam sa Obeka na oko. But Edu Bra will make it permanent decisions on the world.
Yeah.
I go say as a hono yeah missing.
Okay.
Ye ni nyina so kese. Neka sem no kwa no say okasa fa unfair treatment on Palestine.
Yeah.
I go say anya dia ehwe ni. But what he calls for, I think says nyina support. Ebe ya yencha omangnum. No be nene ho.
Okay.
So a higher area
And nation.
mo
Okay.
oyidini because nema ekoso hwemfoni a ye hu na ahometew pa say bia wode aduan akogu baabi na akomde ni pa bi no akofa bi no wosan tuogu won so ne ade enya ade eso ani yako General Assembly mpenga huru bebre almost every year Ghana yako almost every year Ghana ko the whole world won eba be kasa beyond Kasano and after Kasana you can no then be on the film.
Wow.
Make Africa.
Okay.
I go say na make what I say. Yeah. You can natural resources and you go on the Adom Africans. I go say can you grow. But because of say you're fighting individually against united body like United States of America.
Yeah.
Like European Union. I go see one football the 11 players on the pitch. In the SEC nim. See bit mark maybe World Cup. Me ya she binom. But yeba say economic competition I go say name na from South Africa. It's a see it me kan yen ho bum. Ni ejina yen nan so. E bra so etimi nya yen common currency. Kasa bebre no I think a brush is taking action beyond kasa na kasa as a kasa na does pa na yetimi establish ho iye that na me catch you be say me nya believer of wholesale democracy na me go out say you bet my democracy made in Africa because democracy need to be out say sebe the name be a from
so in defining it in our own terms
absolutely so.
And not copying from European countries, no. South America, yes, can be different from some areas.
Because social democracy, it was born out of capitalism.
Yeah.
Inti, who said there be, and yet near you couldn't na papa. Inti, young couch, and I ain't be before. You say no better me a pushy or mount for no interest beyond what somebody would dictate for you from behind. Inti, President Mahama Kasa, I you better bo ache because kasa baby or hiti biano of importance to the development of Africa.
Okay. Bernard MPSC, a member of the NDC National Communications Team. So quick messages here. We see Akwasinsia, good morning. We told Ghanaians Mahama can't help Ghanaians. That danwa. Kudos to Ahinkan, aka Kadek, a golden boy. Okay, KK Dwefri Kasua. And now they a buy. We see Akwasinsia, good morning on Facebook. Please tell His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and his NDC to stop this mining for us. If they are ready to find another solution, let them be serious about it so that we can do the right thing for them. I'm Benjamin Pepra from Aguna Nyaukrum. Okay, Ben. We see Akwasi, good morning. How can President Mahama go to the UN General Assembly and speak passionately about conflict in Gaza, yet fail to show the same concern for the bloodshed in his own backyard at Boko? Regards to lawyer Justin Frimpong Kojuya. Mensa Saba, Edway, Efri Kumase, not Suntreso, and Ode Ebai. We see Akwasi, good morning. I am happy to see that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa is alive to witness the abysmal performance of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Piaga. Then he added so anytime NEC comes to power, Ghana, oh, there Piaga. My name baby, we have assessment, you know, a day, a free. You see, many of Embra, your bar, you better was big on Adom TV. You buy see. It's your bubble, Aquaba, you see, backstage in Commode Chain. You know, from so you have some few minutes to go.
Oh.
I thought we have some few minutes to go.
Was it?
And then I'm young.
Fache.
Oh, me kwang worry pa.
Me tiase.
Oh, no motor kid. No motor kid.
Mo de ma bra me nya kwang akasa.
Iti am se me tiase so kwan wa. So okay say me ni wachi matu ase.
Ahoska phone te ho. One president go form na te so ho. Usane a the motor kid design aban mu ni people in power. Yeah, and I would say, what's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia response to the President Mahama on the effect of COVID-19 on Ghana economy? So, I go see.
Yes.
We Ghana for any na bedwas rede. O Mpensenpensenmu Mahama da our opposition. O ka che say COVID-19 dey be MPP na bibia ni a ya pama akora school fees credit COVID-19. You say obi ko hospital kra na say bi o ko wonu wanya na be say COVID-19. O say ti say NDC say won kan krom ha no. Say COVID dey enya effect bia wa ha na COVID entimi njampe friend say Nigeria njampe Sierra Leone ade na Ghana. Ghana nko na COVID affect yen. O Mpensenpensenmu da Mahama na o ye o Mpensenpensenmu. Every opposition. Oko is Oxford University ana. okwaji tu mu ho say COVID-19 no enya a toll on the African economy, especially Ghana and West Africa ni ade nyina. But we do o man ni mu a no asesa na no because of tumi ana openti. Enne a oyo mampanyin. Okwa United Nations General Assembly. Wasa kwaji atu say COVID-19 no enya effect, enya a toll on the economy of Ghana. Emma Dr. Bawumia yo trofo. Emma mampanyin Akufo-Addo yo trofo. My MPP, government spokesperson at the time, and here or and a Casama Bino. And my trofo a brand new be a cast of COVID. I be hard Jane Mpensenpensenmu, they got economy do you know. Okay. And then, Sabi you say vindication is the womb of time, right? Yeah. No cre. Say divya pim krana, no cre. Atro, uchatrone, otsna, beton no cre in Chenya. No crebidi or trosso enkunim. And that is a vindication, Abba. But can you also be said na as a mode COVID-19 excuse no? Too much of Ghana for us. Sure. You say, how you how? Okay. At the end, I say Ghana economy na ejina hon. Yet the Ghanaian political economy I won't see you know. The Gothisburg economic structure na be inherited and raw material production. Cocoa, diamond, timber, any gold near me, and NDC buy, and you know, gold, quite centralized trade, and a 1 ton gold on changing, and no be anti ton gold on Chinese or Toma gold body. Adentia. And the same Gothisburg economy now, and now, I control the economy crash. This year, yeah, control the economy because we have gold, yeah, control gold, the gold. Market and sales no then cocoa ya control cocoa and this animana timber and the money nyina and the same structure na and it omaya we import more than you produce no e better na because economy na gina so a or how we see area see I affected the international trade na I go see any effect or a toll on your local economy you can we are you see you can see because you need a mind be ebo so sa mind nyina no covid ba ye no enya effect ewo so but say no man panyi ko gina United Nations General Assembly na say otimi ko gitum sa ye besre no say ye say sovereignty lies in the people obedru Ghana ha say ya onem central for nkasa na awa chew pa bi a ofa ma o my Ghana nyina say ebra na okwa abochire a na oka foforo obedru Ghana so a na obeka foforo no odandan na no te say bio aboa wo mfrede say afisi aboa no o man hu ni ye say sisi no de kuta o man ni tumi Enyina so the kind of United Nations no ensisan say enyina so no the records are still here in Ghana. Akwasi there also be you. The issue of Gaza o mampanyin e na no kotum no. You see NDC socialist inclined political party or be a social democrat. And Ghana you are the non-aligned movement. Kwame Nkrumah esase no o say Ghana we don't belong to the east neither do we belong to the west. Ye gina finfin. And the issue of Gaza o mampanyin e de Ghana yetikwa ko shame obi a oye proponent or obi a oye student of international relations or international affairs bia do ehun se be o mampanyin e de 9 ACC no se bi o etro kakra o say ye restrain ye ho se bi the issues are happening in Gaza no e bi because oye mem ha say you adentina de o mampanyin se che no why ni enka nkire ye for the first time in the history of our country ye oye nuanom a ye do won ye pe wasem ye busuafo aware bi ye ebi ye ni bi mu ne ko school any idea and because of conflict in Tina over 30,000 akwa to kwatena e wo Ivory Coast then ko fa bai bi conflict am a nipa to Africa Ghana for the first time akwa refugees in other country akwasi ye dan no oboko e dey na ekoso wo ho day in and day out obi a oboko bia na yem hihye no na no ankwala start is it BC house wasi the education minister echo round okay say or rejected bulletproof vest you are paying how na you do rejected bulletproof vest because or koto within the Boku areas no free say because of the security situation I see a man bulletproof vest to protect his life and he rejected it because say Edgan Timemufu ho and say bulletproof that's what no as a minister and the say bulletproof there then he prefers to die with them and you know he rejected the bulletproof and then as a minister a part of this country or say bulletproof vest and then the catch say honjo me boy and unti say humanitarian crisis so Gaza or Mampanyin world stage no now Mampanyin so invited the international community ni say or no any backyard what control or no any backyard or no any commander in chief so no or what this problem In terms of humanitarian crisis, the worst form of humanitarian crisis, is the Galamsey crisis. Air polluted water bodies, air polluted farmlands, air polluted foodstuffs, air polluted even the fish stock in the water bodies is being polluted because research, as you say, fish need more concentration of mercury within the bellies of the fishes. So pollutant, and ISO, environmental canker. Akwasi ensu asehwe me hwe paper ba ko anim sisi wo hwe the Punch Africa was it truth stands the point nyamishra mo was it diarrhea outbreak scare in Gomoa East amid persistent water crisis wo hwe ha ene da ho no other newspapers are reported wo hwe animu a Farewell River Yensu the publisher wo hwe animu a Farewell River Yensu Ayensu is gone, almost all our water bodies are gone, and Omampenyin if forgetting we say this grave humanitarian crisis course we say yen super ennom timamufo entimi enya potable drinking water no Mampenyin ko gina world stage ne so na ho no Mampenyin ekoma what you call the sermon on the mountain. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the meek, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the peacemakers. And it's an emana. Near that die home, Ejojo, your home, and
say at the bit from Gaza when it comes to natural gas. And the impact of the continuous war. Oh, Sashian so. Well, Africa, we are suffering. And yan papa said, say enya ye no betum to find a lasting solution to near cost one.
Akwasi me da say no question be say the natural gas or gas na gas no be free Gaza ebeba na waterborne diseases ekunkum yen na gas na de be dey gas no be free Gaza ebeba no na de obe use gas no awu fa nche ye to na ye ne ye be san akopesi ka akoto gas no ye de sika na ekun ye ho yare ye nyan super nom cholera, diarrhea, any near kunkumia.
But I wish saying I buy when it comes to Galamsey.
I buy Peso Bibia, I buy your position country state of emergency and the solution. 10 months ago, the proposition was that declare state of emergency. And I buy what to me, or the executive authority to declare the state of emergency. So I buy free say in 2024, September, August, October. Not can I say state of emergency, was something to go by. I don't buy my own declare state of emergency, I see. When I for I don't miss our questions, So I buy solution. I buy solution on the buy in September, October, November in 2024.
Party members are now buying position.
What's that?
That would not have been a position.
Honorable Amakufibua, current minister for lands and natural resources, can be. Foreign Affairs Minister Sam Okujeto Ablakwa Kebi. A Minister for Communication and Digitization, Miaminuya Sam Nate George Okebi. Others, even including the president, say the president must fix the issue of Galamsey. Because he is the president. But so we are telling His Excellency President Mahama that he is the president, he must fix this Galamsey crisis that we have. In fixing it, then I'm going to fix it. And see, I got the arm robbery, so I'm going to rob a rural banks in Yamama. It is not what you want. And your livelihood no so no robbery they say papa this kind of pen omo edekwaman on yana nya here no modity illegality is illegality and it is obi illegality in terms of mining no ya wo mo ya dwuma power ho no matter the coloration whether NDC or MPP so obi kuta the license that's a license no or go by the covenant of the license no na or ye dwuma say the mra say onye no na why do you destroy the work of that person but we only people ya you do almost some buy na ba or the machine go see we bia na otu yan kanasem you do almost people in power e dey generate here ye born the chidom so nko ye say adwuma no and now no Osha Ashanti regional minister ye bo say Fish Shelter Belt Forest Reserve Galamsey fu am ko pamo omo ho no o ma san kwa ko wrem na ukọ pamo omo ho no e dey no return e akwasi
okay
say uche no and I will apply the Mine and Minerals Act of 2007 as amended no and I decode in court convict no and was sentencing no if there is even an enhanced punishment sentencing regime I think it's between 15 years to 25 years and of course and can in 3 days no ko turn back as a forest ni bi man akwasi mine no ye ho ne ensre say e ka brofo nko ade a ye betiri de sebio dictionary na mo mampanyin no de akwa nyina wall stage no so no aka brofo dead e de akire yen
okay
but sa brofo dead no is that what Ghanaians need
merase afafa ben
I go say me that sometimes we programs na utie me nua no MPP fo a na won kasa question baby say na what's up then
okay
yan fa Ghana ma on prempren
MPP fo
na baby sanen
okay
say yan fa Ghana ma on prempren yan to aba na won aba mra na because na abuson beye awotwemu ni na mo na bote aben na no me kan wa
awotwe de mo na mo
say licensing what them mining small scale mining 1988 ekopim 2008
yeah
na ye 50 pe
1988
yes
2008
na 50 10 years
okay for small scale
okay and we from 2009 to 2016 59 lines
2009 to 2016
I be 59
small scale mining
okay akwesi
wait from where data be
oko Ghana mining repository we hu na meken ho
okay
and I just didn't say wa mo near Joy FM yeah program no not the restors me ba no
okay
there's one guy all the data na better about thing figures no
okay
between 2017 to 2025 I paid you 2,154 licenses. It was by now, Obama Wanga and Honey and Yamagu ho. They ban it also no. I can see. Come our left a ban. Yet, baby, and what to Galam say anything. Professor from Pombati Betray. Now, new sometimes you be say, ain't he sabi you sabi. Yet, Fagana for say one day, Nyansen knew in Timana. Say, on share political calendar. Who knew what it takes. Say, Obitman say, somehow okay, and Kuntumpo and I nada. What the license no man wants to say, one fanko boy. What the man wants to say, one fanko two from a good day. The nation so I will create a problem. No, nation so you facing me. Say, a bow by and was said to be a gumubioa. It may be son and self. I don't know, yes, sir. Sabi one credit in Maya. Who sang the big
can you come now? We say small scale mining for a illegal mining.
Men you be and film yet. I was sitting here. Men you be and film yet.
Okay.
Obetman will be licensed.
Okay.
So a licensed small scale miner.
Okay.
Obeka kutu on sue.
Okay.
Illegality.
Or license, but we're illegal.
Exactly so.
Okay.
Obeka kutu o kwaibretu.
Okay.
Illegality.
Okay, so is it about regulation?
No, me some making
okay.
So what I say.
Okay.
Abang no buy no asa be sell bi aguma. Adan na wo yesa, it make question money ye.
Now more license.
Yes, all my license be I. As it stands now. Nsu na ani ahono no, otu anamon ana ontu anamon. Oritu anamon. Nti we expect say nsu na one man crofo license. Won akọ divert in course, baby nsu na namon subong na nam. Na nam nsase na ni poto no, e be na nsu na ni atew. Anto se be yi ne bun ama no, na nsu na timi afam atene. Enya bosoma biesa enya bosoma na ngasem.
We 24 hours.
Ebe hia be say.
Akwase me timi ntra ha nkyere.
24
na wankasa se watena kurase da.
Okay.
Watena kurase da. Se nsu musiwa. Eyira, efa baabi edi keke. Nti eno be ho no. Nsu okwan no naturally. Efa so song ne ho ani. Se nam ne bun na mu saa. Ekonyina no na sediment na de wo mu no. So aja se. Na settle. Nti ene betew. Ye nu ho ye. Sa ban na bubu ne nsa na onye hwe ya. Ye timi bisa so adan na osi ona ne ma sa akoso. Abang ni si make declare state of emergency me won near maybe am person me ya ansa eno ya me last resort say na me ya na anye ye dia then me kwakọ fast asem naba but anamo me to be ni say prempren ansa obetimi akra galamsey equipment yem fa ni sa because say ye genu equipment machinery bi ni ade afa mining ho
on some most do akra ba o nkasa mining
exactly so so we excavators ni so yeah Bibia betimi eye mining related.
Okay.
As I say yes, ye dey fa kwan mrakwan bi so.
Okay.
And sakra be fi airport akoba bi ekọ no. Na licensing. As I say ye dey friend then tracker be bo ho. Eti ni nyina ya ndamontu aban ni tu. Water guards ye kan ho asemi. Oti ya upupu. Ye dey ma mo mfia wo twe. Say na mo say no na mo ma adwuma ne course ro. Hwe say obi dizo Ora Erasmus. Obeka galamsey ho asema.
Erastus.
Sorry, Rastos. Akwesi, say me go dua to kra Messi from Baba Betie. Because he's been principled. Baby onam ne ho anonam. Emfa woni abang aba. Ene abang abesen on sesana no. Na anu ye wa ba be kire roller Sir John play. Nipa wa sha se bowura kwabretu mu MPP fo. Na anu ya the video abontin. Enti dan na sometimes I blame no dia kosi President Mahama ne doorstep. Ne dan no say ono no nko yi ano. Na obi sa se mi na me nua ne nam baby fufuro. Minia President Mahama ono na da so ne say nko okoye. Oko UN no ka say ojada bokuntin UN fo mabuai. Oh really? Sana mo hunene. Tina mama mu ne ye tantantan san. Otu na na mo enya de a echen so broso ma no. Enti onko ka United Nations sebi emu. Me ntim se enhwe me ha me hoso. Enti mo mra na mo mabu am. Enti sana kan boye ne.
Enti boko de na nye yensem sa.
Akwesi binyini so nyensem. Bisa ne ye.
O ya wo abem. Enye nsem nwi. Eje nsem mre bi no.
Boko de.
Ti eje nsem mre bi no. Abang ni tu anamo.
Okay.
Enti fitisa ne ayete no be ya boso ma bi ese echi no. Yes na yete bi woni.
Okay.
And am to be rekoso. Improvement be reba. What they are not to tell me, Minyanam said, Jama, I brought your monsem into Tainti. When I will call exile, be brave as a befi. Refugees in a coin, be brave as a befi. Now, no, me fair report on that. At Osubium, I can see Ghana, you're non-aligned. Okay. But we are non-aligned and just say, as our support to atrocities. We are non-aligned and just our support to genocide. Now, make us what I say.
Okay.
It doesn't even come in here. Nipa bre, nipa wu. Dodo ahe and wo soja atare. Nia me koso Palestine no. Ah, nipa ahe mo frank keten mmia ne ade. Then when in fa war ho, one participation and one involvement in war. And then way Hamas for na mo no nganya. Enti say mo kum nipa bebre. Fa so bia ni so. And I say no President Mahama, atwi wiase nyina adwen si so say, yen hwe say ye betimi afekire yen sia ka asem na asem na etu ase prekopen. And so mo ho asem. Tame ye uni ha. And an President Kufado then Echo pledge support for Ukraine. One thing. On pledge support for Israel. One thing. Mr. Ramo, Amemu Papaba. Ghana for no one way. When decision I will make it, they thought well through it. And who say, Niamo ye and Chramemu Papa. I say, Dr. Bawumia na me femio. Okay. What's it then? President Mahama said then.
Asenya atwum ya ba mampania
wo kwan da nsunti
because o tukwan kwa admit
me pacho covid e baya na ama buami covid baya na ama
ye say baya
e baya
yeah
it's a President Mahama ko jina baby no ka covid ho asema mfom se o ne na we
and was say o ka say enya sunsun
me ba covid ba Ghana nkwa a ana e ba manhuru bebre so covid amatogo ama Côte d'Ivoire
okay
ama Burkina Faso
okay
ama Sierra Leone yam kwa chiri yamra West Africa ya won mu ba he some countries mu ba he and wonya hyperinflation countries and mu ba he and we record with the worst performing currency in the whole world though. The whole world you are told to being from behind Sri Lanka pen Ghana to try the worst performing currency. Enti na Ghana de yen currency no entimi am perform na other nations de anto onsa ne amo refi mo ho se Ghana fo yen remfi ade sa o ne ma Ghana call how no yen nemu in 2022 ya ma mu bone busa bebreba mo boya na mo nim se o chena beba because Eurobond nko a mo je busa to the tune of 11.03 billion. As against President Kufuor, Odi 750 million pay. John Mills, John Mahama, one scar with J, about 3 billion. Monkwao, Enyamfia Wucho. From 2018, Ekopim 2021, 11.03 billion. Then I'm just asking and I'm disay no COVID back Ghana no. Yasansunya husika ADH by over $6 billion. Then ya dey mochicha mam who say na monya toffee. Na mochicha nbronya de mam ofra ofie. To the extent say election 2020. Mo wie no, mo share Bank of Ghana. Amani print illegal currency mebwa.
Illegal currency.
I'll use illegal, but the currency illegally. Sorry, what print illegally?
Bank of Ghana.
Yes, against the law of Ghana. Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm not talking about. What print cannot illegally.
What print cannot
Exactly.
Okay.
Because illegal currency. Okay. Print cannot illegally because
can be a illegal tender.
Oh yeah.
When you fast so print cannot.
A bank share Bank of Ghana.
Then a bank or share
Bank of Ghana and they say 2022 a memu boninti. Ye debosia, ye did say na, ye ntime amfanye bibinti.
Okay.
International rating agencies no blacklisted Ghana.
Okay.
Economy running into junk status. Enti ye kwa bosia ba wo mayen bio.
Okay.
Enti ema ban wo so sabrim na kufa do aban. Kwa obefa so anu so bitman yaska say as say wo Bank of Ghana. No print scam awon. Ghana sikasem hom rani kire say. Say wo be print sika.
Okay.
Ama banga. As I say, and just say ebro 5% of what previous revenue.
Okay.
Okay? 5%. Say be this year, you get 10,000. That's the next year. President Bank of President Bank of Ghana, and man is sika fan support now.
Okay.
And you can say printing. It doesn't mean having local printing. No, scout by system. That's the term they use. And just say ebro 5% of sika you been this year. Sika na go betimi ya print ya ma na na kufa do aban in 2022 edikan na say ebro $10 billion Ghana cedis. We're printing over 40 billion Ghana cedis
in 2022.
Yes,
during COVID
era. I am telling you.
Okay.
2022 na COVID grant ejina. Na ejina na ne Mpensenpensenmu power Ghana so na way. Enti eno na ma Bank of Ghana eko kabu obo kaburubro.
Okay.
Over 70 billion Ghana cedis. And this is a young demonstration. Akwan o fa so no won an fa nko so pe say ebro sa threshold no kra na e say ko parliament na parliament ma akwan anza won an ko enti Ghana memu Ghana bre Ghana economy na e collapse no ne ko fire by kese ejina bosia bo bebre ba am ko jama mfanya because akwesi obeka say finance minister ofurata e te o committee di.
Okay.
Say won ko hwe kwan Ghana cedi no e fa so fall e depreciate so obeka
yeah
40-man committee. Time ben or this committee no buy.
Okay, Fatsheb.
That was in 2019.
Okay, Fatsheb na men share response via Bank of Ghana a buy on 26 July 2022. Also, Bank of Ghana's response to allegations by minority ranking member of Finance Committee in Parliament on printing of money to support the budget. Bank of Ghana's attention has been drawn to an interview granted by the minority ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament, Honorable Kasia Force, alleging that Bank of Ghana has printed an amount of 22.04 billion Ghana cedis to finance government budget without parliamentary approval. His reaction was in response to the 2022 mid-year fiscal policy review, which was presented to Parliament by the Minister of Finance on Monday, July 25, 2022. In Appendix 2A of the mid-year fiscal budget review document, and the financing out of the total finance of 28.12 billion Ghana cedis, an amount of 22.04 billion Ghana cedis was captured under BOG. This is the amount being referred to by the ranking member as Bank of Ghana's printing of currency to support the budget. Bank of Ghana deems it necessary to provide clarity on the issue and to set the record straight. The amount of 22.04 billion Ghana cedis represent net claims on government and not new currency printed to support the government's budget. The net claims of 22.04 billion Ghana cedis has the following four components. One, Government of Ghana stock and bonds sold by commercial banks to Bank of Ghana under repurchase agreement by which banks routinely manage their liquidity positions. IMF SDR allocation disbursed to government through Bank of Ghana. 3, drawdown of government-owned deposit held with Bank of Ghana. 4, negative balance on government account with Bank of Ghana at a print-in time and self-liquidated as new government deposit are credited to the account.
Yeah, Karen.
Eti Bank of Ghana.
Then, as I'm now can't think. It goes really down so.
Eti Bank of Ghana say
I answer question I question patch and I don't think say now no say mischievously but wait me here but the point is
it's an official release.
Bank of Ghana declared a loss of 70 billion plus. Are you not aware of that? Bank of Ghana that time what shall say at the same what shall say at the Sabante by it could do baby no they were fell flat. And yeah, then we declare loss.
More than what it
and what caused that loss? But I say it took them over 12 years to recover.
Most Reverend John Bonaventure Kofi he said last year organized environmental prayer walk. Say yes you say. Sisi ni eba ya daroma. Ye nyina na pese eba walk ni bi na ye nyina ebom pa ye sre nyame. Etwe wo. Member
of the NEC National Communication
most do say we are saying
as a member of the NPP National Communications team. Me dey akwasi si aba see na say last week here no yes a different ethnic group nso edi enkomo. Pakwa ba biem edi ka chem say efia da bia say ne ebadwam ye say ye tuensa e de frɛ kasa hodoɔ ekabomko ye ahodo ɛwɔ oman emu. So mumra ni emedi enkomo no mo nkyere ne ekuo no eye e de boaboa wankasa wo ho eti enano na otwetwe mu se de konkomafo ebae emo ba kire konkomba no ankasa kra eye hwamu asem ne ye kan efrihefa na abesinfa no munkabom ko de no mo yede abo wonwan mu a ewo ahanom ene ye kasei ye kwa santemem eti mi wo the project coordinator Edema Asante Professionals Club. Eye ora osebonsu. Ere say that osebonsu de hie mu pa. Operi osebonsu. Ewo fidwem. Yo se bedi nkomo ni ahwe Asante manso ede. Akra.
Eja.
Akwaba.
Ya miya.
Yes we dey. Yaba mianka sanso medium.
Pepe o dey mu pa.
Ene de medium mianka sa medium say. We dey medium. Na Dr. Kwesi Ajba. Mr. Kwesi Ajba na ka sebunsu ha dey. Eti boko dey.
Ya minya boko.
Yere ya miasi. Boko. Asante Professional Club.
Sa.
Eye ko be ya.
Se de medase menua de di kan ma yenche abusuafo nyina Asante man mamponfo ena afenso yetiefo mo hwe free bia nkrane abochenya ya ma obia ache. Okasa Asante Professionals Club a eni se eye asantefo akrachefo
okay
ana omaka ho abom na se de osi hunu no se de asantefo ana se enipa bia mokopi bia natural selection na ankasa mo ankasa mbeka mo ho abom enti we de nkabo mu we ni ye professionals eye mo amosua de
okay
na omo ye adwuma ye nim se professional works ana omaka mo ho abom na emane nyowa echese se de embona broni mae no na ye de ye becheche yekura ye de nimdifo ena echeche kuro
okay
enti professionals no betuma boa ma enoma bebre akoso ya santememu ni ya santesemu enti na yakan ho abom no
enti e ka the professionals na specific ebi ye de
yes enti professionals no doso enti specifically no your accountants wom
accountants
enti uko CEO for accountancy or association no CEO no down no your friend akwasi adwuma we member into where no say ye kokko ba
no
levels enye say o ye mpanimfo nko a but mpanimfo hu say ye wodomo a
okay so within that
yes no professionals accountants
enye say obeye manager nko
no
but you fall within professional
network and your doctors
doctors okay
bebre lawyers nso bebre say me metie me so me lawyer enti omo doso
na nsantrefo so your professional
bebre nsantrefo ye ni afia poku akwa no ka ho no akwa
enti nsantrefo nyina
professionals omo ya jo motum pepe yes to omo doso ankasa
nti obi with me identify Asante professionals no with me join nipa no eba ye hwe ne background no dey na dey check you sampa me o ka kire se wo ye ambassador yes obi ye journalist here say na memtie yi no obeke me hia say represent TV asa no nsem ye journalist because Adom TV so but enyo bia other so be or pharmacist obede me certify sampa or ye pharmacist na obe join ko no
good on say those can say I come ko baby nkrofo be e say kramo boni am ye hu kramo papa and today say obi we ye wo asantini a we asantini
sure
and the basic principle guiding principle say nka obi a we asantini bi a we professional bia no automatically no we a member you qualify to be a member but then say the okra koto asase a boni be expect say obey due diligence na say mra expect say obey due diligence no sa pepe net yes you will be free attorney DDT
okay
and you community po DDT it's a DDT near due diligence test and sign up by a member of APC into ba due diligence ni no e san say na ye DSC ni so na pese ye ni nti na pese hu say ampo no bedu baby be kese a yentimi control ye ho no yen start with ade emudu na say nipa no mo start na make sure say obi a obam bia no
or level
no dan chen kra no a ye hu say o nipa o ye professional o ye asantini nyenye so obi kuntuna ase be hye ba bi abese no ma enti obi ti se nka wo say enne me so ya na ma recommend o say o me pese ma me nua be member of Asante Professionals Club enti ye friend me be your sponsor ma ba enti say me vouch for you say ampa minimum say o free mampon ana me so why adwuma na che na odi no huni pepepe ntu ba na edo to probation for 3 months nti after 3 months na afi na dey see hu bia dey ye hu your professionals o mu ni o mu huni na me kan cho bi mpo say ye ukolo school kra kire wo say oni obi client delay with honesty and dignity but obanyu lawyer bia o no about time kra oni so aha no mfa ho kra so wan kanti sa no ma we nyina pese edimu na yebu ye ho nti ye sa no ma nyansa na oba ba ye member ana age limit ka ho
it age need about
oh kan you kwere na akese odi be 30 na abranti bimbo dia be ho no na oba bi no ya abranti pa ye tiso ba 25
okay
aha obeye CEO for the friend go board aha so atam no wo mu no ya abranti akosi ewu no ya abranti pa ti ono ne ma history am ne ma ono enti ono ma ye age ne be
25 from 30 to 25
enti 25 okay enti say limit ne 25
enti 7 to say I will say ye asantini
we are asantini
or say o age near 25 years and above also you be a we adwuma
we are professional
now ware ye
enka ho ene de nka ya ware asa de enka ho ana me fa kakra to so biom we are asantini no on say ye wo o maame o ye asantini ene ye wo papa o ye asantini ene ye wo obi ane maame ne papa nyina ye asantefo ba aha no enye hu eni kwan say o maame no papa nyina ye asantefo ansa no watima ba ye bi o papa ye asantini na se o maame kura efi ba bia otimi ye bi ana o maame so eye asantini na papa nya asantini a otimi ba member amane
ke tu hia so be full fledged asante ansana so nti we nyina ye kan nyina ne purpose pa na say asante professional
your purpose in fact maame kan no kweba constancho otumfo a na no say o say to the second otumfo say to the second na wo ni swadi hu a opese odi na ohia so ode asante professionals intimity hey ibit maka say yae no mabi ana say yakan ho abom but ye nuru baabia ye nuru no ma otumfo epese ye no kra entinka mo yakan ho abom no ye wo objectives ye fe strategic objectives na me boss baba ko ye kwan ye befa so a ye bo otumfo amana preserve your culture no legacy a ye hunu na no a manfo ntimi nyina enda mo nya asantefo kra do musi body no eno na ma asante professional nka ye ho si wo pagya say na ye nso ya dia kopim ba bi kra empem ana afi nso efa eye nimdie ne school ko ne ye friend education no eno nso ehia ye say ye nso be because say ya nko suku a ye ntimi and promote culture no See, uncle school, 8 men got treated by being near Juma. To say a war, as Santa for Moko Pio, America, or more young one, dear. A brand TBA TikTok ni who no, or Corporate College, or say, I will be billionaire, or a doctor, or a Santini. Yeah. Any parliamentary, and a judge or Supreme Court, or also a Santini. A Mario Bonum Sako, dear. Any a barrier or Bob, no more copy America or Cotton America or Santini. Enti, ye do moko school no near promote education, both I even say AI technological education, our traditional education in Yano. And I feel so. Ye the AI Santa for the enka a dread DNA entrepreneurship there. And a ya na ye the aswao. Enti, and also ye promote pa say kwa best never fast so a bobo ye home. Any year, when you buy you could one a year, Ubu how your business. We can auto dine or bar the way I see Buamano. Okay, so or ye be attached the professional. Yes, so a be a lawyer, yes, but other private business. Very good. In fact, I encourage other people say, we are lawyer, other things in fact. Met me a friend number B, met me a joining. Yes, we met my friend numbers. And to say, your numbers are my member one number way to say executive numbers no okay the 0205090 130 sabo number 0205090 okay and other numbers are actually no remember on there to we are bet me after yeah sebos that's yes, nice. Yes. Very good morning. Confirm Ajua mother who kuma say Adom and ama Benis also kuma say that's how the person mo yina mo jebre na mo hwe 2 pm ho message ba fa cheme me hu ntem why fa cheme be dey akwasinsia cause na hwe Adom TV next week yeah the other ethnic group and beba yakra